Canberra. Canberra. It could have looked very different. At least that's what this YouTube title tells me. Hello, and happy Arvo. Thank you for joining me today. Australia's capital, Canberra, could have looked very different. Intriguing. I want to know more. Kings and things. Go check out this channel. I'm intrigued. Let's find out how it could have looked different.
After many years of deliberation and debates, the 6 British colonies of Australia united into one country in 1901, forming the Commonwealth of Australia.
I didn't know it was like separate countries.
Leading up to this decision, one of the matters that had been fiercely contested was the question of which city would become the capital of the young nation. On the one hand, Sydney, the oldest city in the country, seemed like a natural choice, but due to the
And that's what I thought the capital was this whole time.
Victorian gold rush, Melbourne had grown to become Australia's largest city and also lay claim to the title. Since neither of the two
I've never seen old photos of Australia. That's very cool.
would accept the other, the result was a compromise. While the government was temporarily set up in Melbourne, it was decided that a completely new capital would be constructed somewhere between them.
Fair enough.
Soon, an extensive search for a suitable site was underway, and in October 1908, having been presented with 11 options, the House of Representatives held the decisive vote on the matter. The narrow winner was a site known as Yas Canberra, located about 150 miles southwest of Sydney, in the foothills of the
It's kind of a lot closer to Sydney, huh? Sydney kind of got the better end of the stick there.
Australian Alps. Many names were suggested for the new city, including Olympus, Captain Cook, Eucalypta, Kangaroo, and Myola.
I'm just laughing thinking about a few videos ago when I thought this said Captain Hook. Anyway, Olympus would have been a freaking cool. These are all cool names, but I like Canberra.
But
Kangaroo. Oh, wow.
in the end, the
Kangaroo and emu.
old local name Canberra won out. With the site selected, a plan was needed to construct the city, and hoping to get the very best the world could offer, an international design competition was launched in 1911. By the deadline in February the next year, a whole 137 different designs had been received, envisioning various versions of the ideal city of the future.
What a crazy idea to have an international design competition for a city. I don't even understand how that. First of all, how do you do that without the internet? This is way before the internet. How do you get the news out to the whole world? Hey, we're having a fun little design competition. Second of all, why do you want people not living in your country designing your city? And why would they even care to help design the city? It's just interesting.
These are too many to cover in one video, and finding information and good illustrations of them is not always easy. But here I'd like to showcase one design that's completely different from what actually got built, and looks like something straight out of a fantasy novel. The entry by the British designer and architect Ernest Gimson.
Wow. Where was he from, Mr. Ernest?
Ernest Gimson was an influential figure in the English arts and crafts movement, which sought to bring back traditional craftsmanship to the decorative arts after what it saw as a steep decline in quality following the onset of the Industrial Revolution and mass production. Best known as a furniture
That makes sense. Mass production kind of takes all the individuality, all the artistry out of it, sort of.
designer, Gimson also worked as an architect and had by this time designed a number of private homes.
What kind of roof is that?
His reason for entering the competition was to test his ideals of a self-sufficient community in harmony with its surroundings that could also meet the needs and demands of a 20th century city. The site that he and his competitors had to work with consisted of undulating pasture land interspersed with homesteads and farms. Running through its center was the intermittent Molonglo River surrounded by rolling hills, and notable for his design, Camp Hill and Currajong Hill located south of it. Rising above the site to the northwest and east were the eucalyptus-covered slopes of Mount Ainslie and Black Mountain, and further in the distance were large snow-capped mountain ranges.
Cool.
Whereas
So you kind of have a blank canvas, but with a lot of beautiful surroundings.
many other
Smart.
entries into the competition envisioned an imposing city with grand boulevards and public buildings here, Gimson's vision for Canberra is a lot more quaint and cozy. It's characterized by winding streets and buildings faced in a local light-colored stone, interspersed here and there with irregularly shaped squares and gardens.
Yeah, that's crazy. There's like a courtyard in every single building.
In this way, the design reflects the arts and crafts emphasis on vernacular building, but also the views of the Austrian urban theorist Camillo Sitte, who had criticized the monotonous gridiron plans of modern cities and instead proposed taking inspiration from the picturesque urbanism of the Middle Ages. In accordance with Gimson's ideals, the city, which would have an initial population of a bit over 25,000, would be able to support itself based on neighboring farms and small-scale industry.
Just 25,000 people.
At its center, he placed a large wooded park encompassing the two hills mentioned earlier. The Houses of Parliament, crowned with golden domes and surrounded by 8 public offices, have been placed on the larger Currajong Hill, whereas the State Hall stands atop Camp Hill at the other end of the park. From this building, one of the city's rare straight roads runs towards the cathedral, the grandest of 10 planned houses of worship. Continuing on its other side, the road eventually reaches an artificial lake created by the construction of a weir across the river. A road can be seen running all along its shore, and it's lined with an arcade to shelter you from rain and heat. The lake is crossed by 3 bridges, with one of them leading to a narrow piece of land featuring a stadium from whence you could get good views of the capital. On the opposite side of the town, a market house has been placed along.
It's like a giant spoon. That is cool.
Views of the capital. On the opposite side of the town, a market house has been placed along the shore, with a covered arcade for the stalls enclosing an open square. Returning to the Houses of Parliament, we find the City Hall located below it, with its main entrance towards the park. To its right, at the edge of the town, is a group of university buildings. In order to enter Canberra, you would most likely go by train, arriving at a station located far to the southeast. Beyond it lies the industrial area, placed in such a way that the prevailing winds would blow the smoke away from the city.
Smart.
On the other side of the station, you would have been met with a garden suburb, primarily inhabited by the people working in the factories. To quickly get around the city, you could hop on one of its trams. At the end of the day, this vision of Australia's capital as a compact city with a traditional feel lacked the grandeur called for by the government and failed to encapsulate
It looks kind of grand to me. There's like a freaking palace in the middle of it.
the progressive, pioneering spirit of the young country. As a result, it was rejected and didn't make it into the top 3 entries.
Oh, it didn't even make the top 3. Man, this guy put a lot of work into this. He even drew the shadows everywhere. Didn't even make top 3. Damn. Must have been a fierce competition.
Instead, 3rd place went to the French architect Alfred Agache, who had studied at the École des Beaux-Arts and proposed a city resembling Paris. 2nd place was awarded to Eliel Saarinen from Finland, whose design was influenced by the stern Art Nouveau or Jugendstil that was popular in Northern Europe at the time.
I don't know. That kind of just looked like a giant jail. This part's beautiful, though.
The winning entry was made by the American Walter Burley Griffin in
An American dude designed Canberra. How did I not know that? Walter Burley.
collaboration with his wife, Marion Mahoney. Griffin's intention was to make a city unlike any other in the world, composed of a number of geometrically laid out communities with an emphasis on democracy and nature. But
I have to say, I like his design. Whatever, if he designed that thing that's in the middle, with the flag in the middle, that's cool.
not even the winning design was built, at least not as originally intended.
Dang it.
2 world wars and the Great Depression led to a reduction in scope of the design and greatly delayed its implementation. The city that eventually
The whole world had to go and freaking start killing each other. This is why we can't have nice things. Good job, humanity.
took shape is clearly
So an American didn't design Canberra?
based on Griffin's design, but not.
Oh, wait.
The city that eventually took shape is clearly based on Griffin's design,
Okay.
but none of the great buildings that he had envisioned were ever constructed. If we compare modern Canberra to the city envisioned by Gimson, we find that his compact urban environment is now mostly occupied by large gardens and public buildings.
I think this looks pretty cool. The actual design. It's incredible.
And is
Look, you've got the AFL field right in the middle.
intersected at each end by an avenue taking you across the river to parts of the city which in Gimson's plan were still wilderness. Despite this, there are actually some similarities as well. Currajong Hill, where he'd placed his parliament building, has since 1988 been the site of Parliament House and is now known as Capitol Hill.
So the American kind of copied off the other dude's homework.
The Molonglo River also ended up being dammed to create an artificial lake. But the city of winding streets and golden domes envisioned over 100 years ago by Gimson can only really be experienced through the vivid drawings submitted to the competition.
Yeah, these are really beautiful pieces of work. This looks like it's from Aladdin or something. Like, this would be kind of interesting to be in Australia. Oh, that's the end. Well, that was fun. That was like a you know, making history fun. Thank you for watching, and thank you. Go check out Kings and Things. The link is down below. That was a fun video. I hope you guys are doing good. Happy Arvo to you. And I hope to see you here again tomorrow, because I'll be here. I don't know what we're doing yet, but it's, you know, it's going to have something to do with Australia, I'd say. Yeah, that sounds good. All right. Goodbye.